Hey guys, and welcome to my channel. And since you're here, it means that you took up my membership, and well, thank you a lot for that. I hope you will have fun with me. I have such awesome things planned for us, so I think we will enjoy this. And since most of you who are on my membership are also the people who asked for me for more real-time tutorials, well, I guess you will be happy, because here, as you could have seen in description of my membership, I'm planning to do 2 tutorials a month, one every each 2 weeks. That's for now. I think, well, I'll see what will this end up to be, but this is the minimum that it will definitely have. And one tutorial will be from my YouTube channel that is already on my YouTube channel, and it will be in real time. And on YouTube channel it will be sped up, and the other one that won't be on YouTube channel, that will be for members only, also in real time. So you can paint with me, and if you find it to be too slow, you can always speed it up. But I think the point of this membership part of my channel is to hang out, to paint together. So I'm planning to make all real-time videos here. And well, I hope you'll enjoy this. And this is, I think, the first one I'm recording actually for my membership channel. So we'll see. It won't be anything especially different than the other real-time videos, but you know, I have to say I'm slightly nervous, so maybe I'll blab too much, maybe not, maybe I'll relax. So I have here a sketch. This is the thing we're gonna paint today. And also here is the reference photo. I actually put two paintings together, two photos together to make this reference photo. And as always, I will put in a corner finished painting so you can follow it easier. And this is also the sketch. I won't be sketching in this video because, you know, it would take absolutely too long, and this sketch will be available for download. And you can of course check the description of this video and you will find the link for the download. So go ahead and download it for yourself, trace it, and we can get started. Also, I have 2 jars of water, one for cleaning my brush and the other one just for rinsing, and the other one just for cleaning it completely. And also I'm planning to use green. I have some leftover greens here. Well, it's very, very small amount of it, green, and we will be also using some gray. And gray I will be mixing from Ultramarine and Sepia. And green I will be using some olive green, some green, maybe some sap green. And I think that's mostly the colors we're gonna use. I don't think, and maybe some white gouache, of course, for some highlights, and I think that will be all. Also, well, you can find all the materials I've used and paints, colors also in the description box. So if you want to check it out before we start, of course you can do it. I'm planning in the future, because this video is probably already on my membership channel at the moment that you subscribe to it, or that you join my membership channel. But if in the future I am planning to make posts, so I will always announce in front what materials you will use for the painting, or what materials I will be using for the painting, so you can prepare yourself and can already have all the supplies you need before we start to paint, before the video is out. And okay, now, as I said, I have here my my sketch, and I will be using this time somewhat larger paper. This is 24 by 30 centimeters, and 9.5 and 12 inches. So of course you can use a smaller paper, and you know what, I find that the bigger paper you get more liberated, you get more free. So I think you should try. I know that blank paper is scary, you know, small is already scary, and what about the bigger one, the larger one? But I assure you, you should try it. Maybe not right now, but you should try it. Also, I'm not planning to make this painting very realistic. I do plan to make it somewhat looser, so I think we'll have fun. Okay, first thing we're gonna do is trace it, and just a second. Since I'm using a block of paper, I will also be using this this graphite paper to trace it. But of course, if you're using just single sheets of paper, you can trace the sketch on your window. And well, I cannot tell you how many times it happened to me that I've turned this page down and I've traced all entire sketch, picked this up, and oh, there's nothing, and I just realized, oh my god, I've turned it the wrong way. So silly me. It does happen to me also. So I'm just putting that tracing paper in the right place, and I will place this a little bit on the right, something like that. And now I will just be using this tape to, well, tape it down to my paper so it doesn't move, because, you know, if it moves, well, not good. So first thing, we're gonna trace this. Like this. So maybe if you're tracing it on your window, you know, I can't really use, I usually, when I paint, I usually have some music on. It just gives me some groove, you know, but this time, unfortunately, I can't turn on the music because, you know, of copyrights. So that is the reason why it's silent here. And maybe it's not so silent because there is someone speaking in the room next to me, so maybe you will hear him from time to time. I hope that won't bother you. Maybe I should just speed this up, huh? Tracing, or not. Maybe if you're tracing it also right now with me, you're not doing it any faster. And if you're not tracing, if you're just watching, you should just skip this part, right? Just skip it. I think this will be fun to paint. I was just so looking forward to start this, you know, because a lot of people have been asking me to do more real-time tutorials, and you know what, I can check, I can see on statistics, analytics or whatever on YouTube how much people are looking, or how well some video is performing, meaning his audience retention, or how much people watch from the video. And I just always noticed this, those long videos aren't really watched. So I realized that actually there are people who like real-time tutorials, but as I could have seen, most of them don't really. People don't, you know, they like to get the info they are looking for, and when they get that info, they just go, you know, forward and do that or not do that. But you know, it doesn't all people like it, and I was just so happy to start this, because you know, a lot of you have been asking me also if I'm gonna have my if I was gonna do the Patreon or some other form of classes on internet, online classes, and I just have to say I never did think about it, and I know it's a lot of work. And well, I was just thinking, it will just take up too much time for me. So I wasn't sure if I could commit to something like that. But, you know, then I decided you're such an amazing community and I can see all your support here now. So I was just thinking to myself, why not? Just you know, grow some and do it. Try it. Why not? So I'm doing it. I really do want to, you know, help you out, and I do, because, you know, whatever you think, this is also good learning for me, you know, and I'm just making myself paint more. And just a second, I want to see if I traced it all. I think I did. Some parts a little bit light, but you know, that's fine. There's just one thing here missing, this one, and I can see here some parts missing, like that. I think this is now it, like that, and this is from the, there you go. So this is now traced, and I will use some, and a lot of you also ask me what this is. This is the kneaded eraser, artist eraser from Faber-and-Castell. I love to use it, you know, sometimes to lighten my sketch, but not every time. I don't need to lighten my sketch every time, because sometimes, as you can see right now, it's not really too dark. But, you know, I like to use it also to pick up the excess graphite from the paper. You know, when I start using my watercolors, that graphite mixes with them, and I don't really want that. So I find this kneaded eraser perfect thing to, you know, to pick up that excess graphite. See how much it did pick up. Okay, we can now go to our next step. And our next step, our next step will be pre-wetting the paper, and I'm just using this spray bottle that's from IKEA to spray this. And then I'm gonna use a larger flat brush to spread that water. And I am pre-wetting the entire paper, so don't be afraid, just pre-wet the entire paper. We won't be careful not to go into our leaf, because, you know, leaf is going to be quite more saturated and darker than our background, and I won't even be painting the entire background, just parts of it. And now I will just move this, because I will start, can you see? Yes, you can see everything. I will start with this, with the background and some gray, and I do need a little bit more of sepia into it, and a little bit more, like that, and quite amount of water, because I do want it to be pretty light. And I'm just gonna use, I have this paper here that I always try. See, this is just so very dark, and I do want it to be very lighter. So like that, that's okay now. So just, you know, I'm just mixing a lot of water in my paint. It was already not so diluted, but still, as I want it to be very light, I'm adding even more water, like that. And I'm gonna go just here around and in our, you know, jar, our vase. Actually, this is not the jar. And you just keep in mind that when dried watercolors will be lighter. So it does maybe look quite dark right now, but it really, when it dries, it will be lighter. And I'm just gonna go around my table, not gonna paint on it, just go around the table and here also, like that, and just spread a little bit here and there that paint. And as you can see, already started to dry the paper. It's pretty hot here again in my studio, so paper dries pretty fast. Maybe in your studio is not that hot. I don't know where you're from. Maybe you're from the part of the world where it's not so hot. Well, it's not really that hot today either, but for some reason it just dries very fast. And we have here some shadows from the vase, like that, and I will add a little bit more of the pigment around my table again and just spread it slightly like that. And now that we added that most of our background, I think I will just this part pick up a little bit of the paint like that, and here we will have this one part a little bit lighter, so I will be using a tissue paper that will be our reflection. So I'm just gonna pick up a little bit paint around it like that. We will be adding a little bit of white gouache later on to that part. Still just picking up here where I think some lighter parts are gonna be, just pick up paint there, and I think this will be now fine. I really do believe this will be now fine. Just looking at a photo, looking where maybe I could, no, I think this will be fine now. Here again, where the table is, there you go. And now we will dry this. I'm just getting my hair dryer and I'm gonna move the paints, because you know when you're drying near your paints, they dry. So we'll dry this now. And you know, I was thinking I could snap here a couple of water drops. I think it's now quite dry already, but you know, there is still gonna make some diversity in our background here and there where the paint didn't completely dry. So let's move on. Okay, this is now dry, and I'm sure you're asking yourself, what has she done? You know, we probably, I'm not sure how much can you see on camera, but you know, when we remove our washi tape, it will be a lot lighter here, so the background will be visible, that grayish color will be visible. Also, same thing in your painting, if you place the washi tape around and you're making those lovely white borders. And here back with our paints, and I think for now we are finished with this gray, because we will go back and do some details in our vase, but for now we will leave that and we will move on to painting our leaf. And you know what, I will be also using for that this masking marker, And if you don't have the masking marker, it doesn't matter really. You can absolutely do that also without the masking marker. Just when painting, just try to avoid those places, or maybe even not. Maybe later on you can mix some lighter green with white gouache and add it to these parts here, you know, to the parts that are actually lighter. You know, maybe I will do that, because I understand that those who have masking markers or masking fluid, you can just these veins that are going from here center to the leaves, you can mask them to make it easier on yourself, that you don't have to think about those parts. But for those who don't have the masking marker, masking fluid, it doesn't matter. I will also do it without it, just to show you that it can be done, because I do believe it is easier with masking fluid and masking marker. So when you just finish the other parts, just remove it and add a little bit lighter green. But for those who don't have the masking marker, well, we're gonna paint it without, and I think it will be easier, at least for me. If it's not easier for you, that's fine. It will be easier for me to turn the paper around, because you know it's near to me. So I will be now using a smaller round brush, but first these are the two, this one and a little bit larger. This is, I think, number 6, and this is, well, I can't see anymore, but I think this is number 4. So I will be using two smaller round brushes, and first I will pre-wet that leaf. So just use any brush you like for pre-wetting, maybe some larger brush, you know, because if you use a smaller brush, it will probably take forever. And since here I'm having some troubles with fast drying, I do need a larger brush so I can cover a larger surface straight away, and I'm not even sure if I would be able to keep it wet until I come to all the parts, but I will try my best to keep it wet. And I'm also just leaning my head to see, because you know, if you're looking like from here, you can't probably see if you pre-wetted the entire paper. It's just tilt slightly your head, and when you tilt your head slightly, you can see if you pre-wetted the entire paper or not. And I can even see that I went a little bit outside here, so I will just pick the water from there. And I'm using quite amount of water, because as I said, it's quite hot here and the paper is drying fast, so I'm using quite amount of water, so it does stay wet until I get to that part, but I can already see it's not really staying wet. So I think I will have to you know, abandon this idea to pre-wet the entire leaf and just go with sections. But you can, if the paper isn't drying so fast, you can pre-wet the entire leaf and then start. And this is, as I said, a mix of some olive green, and there's also some green in it. I'm going to use quite an amount of water and just add it here. And paint those parts. And then we will be adding a little bit darker green to those parts. And even if you go outside the lines, that's fine. Then don't be stressed about that. You know, your lines doesn't have to be exactly in the same place where the sketch, how it is in a sketch. And also, well, maybe smudge it a little bit so it does look even looser. And I'm also going a little bit outside the lines, and I'm not really bothered with that. that. And a little bit of more paint. So I can see now that pre-wetting isn't actually really the option with me because paper dries very fast, so I'm just going without pre-wetting. I'm just going straight away with my mix of olive green and green. And this is the part that is the background, you know, this is the hole in the leaf, so just leave it white. And the last leaf. As I said, you will probably hear some noises. That's my husband. I told him I'm recording, but he just forgets. And that's his slippers actually. He has those, you know, big slippers like socks that are like socks, you know. So he's making a lot of noise with them, and I can see here is this part. I went slightly outside, so just smudging it slightly and picking up paint from there like that. And now I will use that smaller brush, as I said, and I will just pick up the green, add it here on my palette like that. And now I will, I'm sorry, now I will turn the paper back because, you know, I do want to see it from the proper side. And I will be adding a little bit of paint here and there and just let it bleed, you know, slightly into the leaf. And just be careful not to lean your hand. And since again it started to dry, I have to smudge ends. Like that. And I've just noticed my camera stopped, so this is bad. I hope you didn't miss too much, but you know, if you did, I will be showing all the steps I did on the previous leaf here, so you can follow it here. And as I said, I'm just adding more pigment to these parts. Darker, more green. This is now just green because I do want some parts of the leaf to be a little bit darker, and since I can't really pre-wet the paper without drying, trying to, you know, add a little bit of the pigment and then use wet brush to smudge it, because I do not want harsh edges. So when you see forming harsh edges, it's just pick a little bit of the water in your brush and smudge it just to avoid those harsh edges, you know, on some parts of the leaves. like that, and I'm just adding a little bit of the pigment where I think I need it, and then just go ahead and smudge it with my brush. I do want some parts, as I said, to be quite dark, so I will also be using paint straight from the palette on those parts, like this. See, this is not black, it's actually green, but it's straight from the palette, so it's quite saturated. And still using it on the parts that are still wet, because I do want those parts to, you know, I want that paint to slightly bleed also, and some here like that. And again, with that smaller brush, I will just smudge it just slightly, not a lot of water, just a little bit. Just to blend it into the other parts of the leaf. Like that. And now moving on to I do want that part towards the middle also to be a little bit darker, so I'm adding a bit more pigment there. And this part of the leaf is quite dark, so you can find here a lot of that green. And I will come back to that. Just I want to add a little bit more of the here on the crease, a little bit more of that dark green, and also just going here. And I'm starting to lose my sketch and my lines. So you can just, when drawing your sketch, you can just make it quite dark. It won't be any problem later on, because as you can see, we're using quite saturated colors, so it will cover your sketch. You don't have to be afraid it won't. So as I said, you can just make it quite dark. Like that. Just going upwards. You know, maybe some veins. Also going upwards. And here I also do want it a little bit darker, so I will add a little bit more pigment here. And you know, my brush is doesn't really have that nice pointy tip, so it is quite harder to achieve those beautiful lines, straight beautiful lines. But if you have a brush that has a nice pointy tip, I think that would be quite easier for you. Like that. Maybe I should have just made myself some coffee, huh? I'm just thinking I could be taking some coffee. Did you make yourself some coffee? You're probably smarter than I am. I always remember too late. You know, maybe if we would have some drying break, one more drying break. I just noticed that this part of my leaf did get lost in the sketch, so I'm just adding it right now. Like that. And now we're gonna move on to the other side. And I'm gonna use a little bit of that green and add some water here. This time I'm trying to avoid that middle part that you maybe who are using masking fluid masked. So if you can just avoid that part. If not, as I said, we'll use later on white gouache for that, just here. Because, you know, simple reason why I'm doing it, because I'm losing my lines from the sketch. So I will have to later on guess where I made them, because, you know, as always, I did not paint that. You know me, I never paint same painting twice, so I did not actually practice this. This is also, you're following my stream of thoughts, you know, how I paint and how I actually think while painting. But I think that's fun for you also, because I know you've asked me for real-time tutorials, and I did warn you that I don't do paintings twice, so I hope you're enjoying. You let me know if you're enjoying my blabbing. So adding a little bit more of that pigment here, and also on the next one. And then smudging it slightly. In between, like that. A little bit more of the pigment and some here, but as I said, not really. I don't want it to be so too realistic, so let's not bother ourselves, you know, that it has to be perfectly realistic. Like that, just adding a little bit of that pigment again, just where that vein is, just go around that vein. And again, smudge it slightly on this side. It's not wet. And I'll use also slightly bigger brush. That's it. And now a little bit more. This part is quite dark, so I'm adding quite an amount of the pigment. Don't be afraid of the pigment, you know, and the color. Just add it. Just add it. It will dry later. But also, you know, we do like pigment like that. See, whatever amount you use, it won't end up to be so dark. When it dries, again, just smudge it. And this one is just going from the veins, see? It's a little bit darker here and going from the veins. And just slightly that bigger brush with a little bit more water in it and just smudge it here and there again. Like that. And now I'll be using a little bit more of that green, and now those places that I smudged, that I've added a little bit of water and smudging, I will now wet them again. I was just looking at if we're recording again. I have, you know, my camera doesn't warn me in any way that it's stopping, so I just lift my head up and see it's dead. You know, I tell you, that's not a good feeling. That's really not a good feeling when I speak and I think I'm recording and I just pick up my head and see it's for some reason stopped. So beep. Can I say that or not? Maybe I will have to make sound beep. Like that. Would that be fine? Let's do some more details later on when this dries. And now we will move to painting the vase. And we'll need back our gray. And also this time, see, I'm just looking here. We have where the water, where the shadow is, we have the darker part, so I will put here some, and then again just slightly smudge it. And my water is green, so I'm having green here, and I don't want that really. I will have to go change my water, so maybe you should do that too, you know. This is now green and it's not really what we wanted to have green water, but it's done what is done. I will stop now, change the water and come back. Okay, I have clean water and I'm back, still green. Perfect. I will just try this, I don't want it to bleed. Okay. Now we'll go back to that brush, some grayish, and just add here that grayish and a little bit of here also, and then just smudge around it. It's because it's not my water but my brushes. I haven't cleaned them, so they have still green in them. Now I will green in the entire water, and you know, it will just look like it's the reflection or something from the leaves. So if you having the same problem, just do that. If not, well, lucky you. There you go, like that. It won't be so visible and dried. And a little bit more of that. And here I will also add, those are the places where some shadows are, and you know, the discoloration in water, you know, also, you know, that water has those places where it's darker, where it's a little bit lighter, like that. Like that. And also we'll have some here on the top part of the and then just smudge it slightly. That. And for the upper part I will be using a liner brush. I love liner brush, but you can use again any detail brush to add a little bit of those lines, you know, for the upper part. That's not actually the water, but it's the crease of the vase. Water is here, and I will add a little bit more here on that part, like that, and a little bit more on here. This is you know, the line of our vase, and a little bit darker part just here. Like that, and just take again that round brush and just slightly smudge it like that. And also we'll use, this time I'll use this smaller brush and add a line here. Again, the line of our glass. And on the part where the water, this time this is the water. We have this a little bit lighter part where the light is reflecting on the water. This line won't be visible later on when we add the green. And here we have a little bit darker part. Again, if you have a brush with more pointy tip, I really do have to get myself one. I'm also thinking which one to get. So I'll probably will, maybe by the time you're watching this video I already will get, I'm not sure. Like that. Again, some smudging. And here with a liner brush, again, this is the line of the water. Just like that. And this one is the darkest and the widest. Like that. Like that. And we do miss here one more darker, a bit more darker lines. Like that. I'm just going here. I think this will be fine. And now we'll add just on this side also a little bit, and also here on top. Like this. Here we have a line and just going here. Like that. And just slightly like down. And again, just using not this one, a little bit smaller, and just slightly smudging it. Like that. And we do have a lighter spot here, so I will just go around it. Just with a light wash, and then again smudge it around, just that we can make that part a little bit more highlighted. And I will add again a little bit more. See, when drying it does get a lot lighter, so you will maybe have to go back here and there and add a little bit more of the pigment, but that's fine. I don't think that's any problem. Like that. And I will also add a little bit more of that grayish color also here and there on the vase. This will now smudge also. Just pick up the excess with the towel. And I think that's it. Like that. And here we have maybe some water again reflecting, so I'll add some here. And I think this one is now done. I think this one is now done, and we'll move on, finish the leaf, then the stem of the leaf. And yes, I could do, just before going there, we could just add around our table that grayish color, and just again smudge it slightly. Just to emphasize the shape of the table. slightly, you know. And then on the corners, just pick up the paint so it doesn't dry too, you know, too visible. And I will also add a little bit more here on this side. And then again, smudge it slightly like that. So that we just have some distinction between our table and the background. And we have some shadows here. This time no pre-wetting, just adding a couple of shadows like that. Some here a little bit more darker. Okay, now I will move on to, as I said, the leaf, and I will use this time, again I need some more green, and this time I will use that sap green, because you know sap green is quite, you know, vibrant color. So I will mix it in here, add just a little bit, just a little water to it, and I will go over the entire leaf. I probably should have checked how it's called in English. I'm sorry, I haven't checked it, so I'm not really sure. I'm adding it to the entire leaf because I do believe it will give some extra volume and some extra pigment and vibrancy. So it won't cover my paint that is underneath, but it will just give a little bit more vibrancy to it, adding it on top. I do like that when when you're painting maybe some landscapes and also paint the sky in yellow and then the ground, or maybe you're painting some fields or something like that and you're painting it green, and when you finish painting it green, you just add a little bit of that yellow color, just a light wash on top of the fields, and it just brightens it all up and it just blends all together. So I did add a little bit of that sap green, and I will just tap it here and there also, like that. And I will get a little bit of olive green mix in. Olive green is a little bit more yellowish, and also add on some parts where the lightest star parts are, add that. Like that. Now I'm just checking this, not really completely dry, but I will dry that. Okay, since I don't have, as I said, I don't have the pointy tip on this one, I will be using a dagger brush, if I could find it. There you go. There it is, but you can just use that round brush with a pointy tip. If you don't have it either, you can use a flat brush. Again, just I'm picking up that olive green now and just painting in the stem. And I just went a little bit outside because I've lost my lines. So I just went a little bit outside. Like that. It's a little bit thinner on the lower part and a little bit thicker the upper part, and I'm just picking up this part because you know it's a little bit breaking in our it's breaking slightly in going into the water, so just keep that in mind. You know, it won't be completely same. And here is slightly broken, and then just picking up some green and I'm adding it to this part. This is the part that it's in shadow. Slightly smudging it downwards like that, and then it just broke here where the water is, and it's going here a little bit on the outside compared to that one. You know, because it's slightly broken. And then the upper part, this one is also a little bit darker. Shadow like that. See that? See that middle part is actually the, well, mostly out. So just keep in mind it's in water, so it's slightly, it is slightly how do you say that? Not skewed, but yeah, I hope you know what I mean. It's not showing up the way that it should actually. And like that, and that grayish. Okay, I had some slight bleed here. I went a little bit overboard. Okay, now stride. I will take this, and now we won't be doing any darker parts, but we're gonna do it a lighter part, and this time I will pick up the olive green and a little bit of sap green. Like that. And now I will use, just a second. So now I will just pick up a little white gouache. I have some white gouache here. Just picking up quite an amount of that white gouache. Adding it here and a little bit more. Can you see? You can. A little bit more here. Just rinsing my brush and then picking up that green, olive green, like that. See how it got a little bit lighter, and some sap green to add a little bit more of that green pigment, because as I said earlier, that olive green is quite, it's yellowish, and a little bit of green, like that. And I'm just looking for the right amount. I do want it to be slightly yellowish, so I am adding a little bit more of the olive green. Okay, I think I'm pleased with this color. And I will take a detail brush, just pick up that color and see how this one is. Do I need a little bit more of the white gouache in it? And I would say I do. It's still quite not so opaque. And there is also quite amount of water there, like that. And just going downwards, just slightly pick up your brush. Just pick up your brush. Like that, and then we're going, this one goes to the top. And I will be adding a little bit more of white gouache at the end to all of those lines. Just press it harder and release. Again here, just press it harder and release. Because this part here is a little bit, you know, thicker, going from the roots, from that vein, central vein, like that. And also on the other side, just press it, and this one didn't turn out quite the way I wanted it, so like that. And then again here, and to the top. Like that. I will pick up that because I think it's too much water in there, and I do need a lot that white gouache. Now I'm just gonna use that white gouache and add on top. that vein. And this will also dry lighter, so don't be afraid to add it. And I've switched now to my liner brush because I do find it to be the brush for me, the easiest brush to do thin lines with. I'm used to that brush, so you should always use any brush that makes you feel comfortable and that you're used to. You know, it doesn't matter what I'm using or what everybody else is using, anybody else is using. Just use what makes you feel comfortable. And we have a couple of here also going here like that. Like that, and some couple of on the leaves. Just here and there add some lines, you know, some highlights. There are all sorts of veins going from those leaves, so just go ahead, just add them. Don't be afraid, as I said, that's double dry, very much lighter. Like that, and I will also add a little bit of that sap green now on top, and again too much water. Okay, now I will dry that again. And just to make that pop a little bit more, I will use again that detail brush, and I will use that green, darker green, and just add it just to that line. Just make that part a little bit darker near the line. So that the line actually pops, and that we make the impression that it is standing out a little bit, that it's not flat, but it's actually standing, sticking above that leaf. So this is somewhat the shadows between those lines. Like that, and just smudge it slightly inwards or outwards from the center. Like that. And you see it immediately looks like that actually popped. And also on the other side, I'm adding a little bit of that darker green just beneath those lines, those veins we just did. like that. And immediately, as I said, it just popped. And it looks like it is slightly on top. And I do want to darken this side a little bit, so I'm adding a little bit more of the pigment. And again, just smudge it slightly. And also I want to add top of the leaves. You know, I didn't actually paint those, so I will be using a liner brush and take that green and just add here, you know, those thin lines that are going from those leaves, like that. Now the middle part is dry. I will take white gouache, and this time I will take it straight from the tube and just add on top. Just to add a couple of highlights here and there. I will just add it to, you know, some of those veins, just to highlight them slightly. That. And this one will stay a little bit lighter because this time it's not diluted with water. I should really get some squirrel to warn me that my camera stopped, because right now I've noticed again it stopped, but I hope it didn't miss much. You didn't miss much. So I do want a couple of more highlights on that leaf itself. So I will be taking that olive green and just mix it in with white gouache and add a couple of more highlights that will later on be, you know, blend. It will be lighter when the white gouache dries, so don't be afraid. And here, just some highlights. Just here and there we're gonna add some highlights with that white gouache, and as I said, it will dry lighter, don't worry. Here, like that, some here, and that's it with the leaf. Now we can move on to that lower part, and we do have some We do have some highlights here. I will add a little bit of that white gouache again, to just straight from the tube, just to make that highlight stand out. And we have here on the top here, and some also here. And here. Just here and there, adding some highlights like that. And I'm just looking if there is some more places where we have some highlights, and I think those are actually all the places. I don't think some here, right? We cover that like this, you know, to make an impression that there is actually that vase. And that's it. That's it. I will now close this. There is just one place I forgot. See? Here. That's another crease, right, of the where that light is just breaking. Like that. Like that. And to finish it off, I will take again, this is now quite, just take a little bit more saturated, and add a couple of places. Those darker, like that. And that's it. Now, just I will take a little bit of from the stem to make it lighter on one side, and this now really is just here, that to add a little bit more definition to the shadow. And that's it. This is really it. Taking off the masking fluid. And well, I hope you like this. Well, there it is, a real-time video. This one actually took a lot longer than I thought it would. You know, I did think make it a little bit more looser, but at the end it is, I don't think it's quite realistic, but it's not, maybe it could have been a little bit looser. And well, but you know, when you start painting it, there's this detail, there is that detail, and at the end it just ends up so touchy here and there. So, but I hope you liked it, and maybe you will try this one. And if you like this video, well, just give me a comment and tell me if you liked it. Would you like me to do more of these tutorials, like these tutorials? And well, of course, always tell me what would you like me to paint, and give me some suggestions. I would really like to, well, to give you what you want and what you like. So thank you a lot again for joining into my membership program, and I really do appreciate that a lot. And that is just one more step to making my dream come true, and to help me to do, actually, to live and do what with what I love doing. You know, just you're helping me achieving my dream. So thank you, and we'll see each other next time. Bye.